content is, in one way or another, an art form. I choose the words in one way or another here because I do think there's a little bit of nuance in content as an art form, right? There's a conversation to be had, is content inherently an art form, or is an art form by virtue of the things in it? For an example, if you don't think YouTube videos are art, you couldn't argue that the graphic design that goes into the logos and editing of these videos aren't art. You know graphic design's art, so of course YouTube videos, by proxy, are artistic at very least, right? I say that content is, in one way or another, an art, just because I believe that that's true, right? But also because I don't think that that's the most important part of this conversation. I think content is art. I don't think how it's art matters too much. I think there's probably a good argument just based on its widespreadness and the way we consume all of it, that it is in itself going to be viewed someday as a medium. In maybe the most reductive terms, we could refer to it as video creation being an art form, right? I want to talk about, though, let's say, okay, so we've established that we believe content's art, right? Because I do believe that to be true, as I said. That has some pretty large implications to it, right? If content is art, then content is not just art, but like the art form right now. Content is getting, I mean, I saw the other day that YouTube Shorts gets 300 million views a month. That's insane. They also bragged about that, which is weird to me, because like, nobody likes that. Like, I don't think anybody's like, I don't know. How do you guys feel about the whole short form content thing? Just a little side tangent, like start this episode even. What do you, like, do you guys, let's like, obviously we just discussed yesterday, the internet wasn't a mistake, right? Just setting aside all that for a second, if you guys could erase short form, would you? Because I think most people would, but a lot of people really like TikTok too, so I don't know. Either way, we'll say TikToks, YouTube videos, these things are art. And I think it's really interesting because the implications that are insane, genuinely insane. First of all, as much as these are an art form, they get no respect as an art form, right? And I think it's because this is an art form that is nearly by definition subject to numbers, right? I think that it's not too bad of a definition to say that content is art that is subject to algorithms and numbers for its merit, right? For its success, rather. I don't think merit's the right term there. For its success. That's a pretty easy way of understanding it, because that's what we view it as, right? If I make a video and just leave it on my computer, you would maybe say it's a piece of video, right? Piece of art there, or at best, you'd call it a short film, if it's really good, right? But the second you put it on YouTube, whether it's a short film, whether it's an essay, no matter what it is, it gets labeled as something else, right? Maybe if it's a short film, it'll get labeled as a skit or like a YouTube original, something like that. If it's an essay, it gets called a video essay. Maybe before it'd be called a prank video, now it's called a YouTube video. Maybe it'd be a video about your day, now it's called a vlog, right? We have this way of switching things once they enter an algorithm that numbers start affecting, right? So the implications of this are insane because I think it's almost destroyed our idea of quality. Because quality used to be defined by, you know, what do gatekeepers like? What is the average person like, maybe? What makes its way into museums? Like, there's a lot of institutional power to quality, and I've actually seen a lot of people saying that they think what comes next is that institutional power returns because people are tired of it not being here to dictate quality. I think that is completely and utterly untrue, because I think that no matter how great a piece of art is, maybe you will corner a group of people that think that this is what needs to happen next. I might even be in that group of people. I'm an art snob myself. I'll love the idea of going to a museum or maybe some new form of institution that will be able to dictate a higher level of quality to me, right? However, the fact of the matter is this will never get the views of Mr. Beast video. I think what's probably next more so is people who can make Mr. Beast videos figuring out how to insert the most quality and taste into them from an artistic level, if that even happens. I don't even know if that's going to happen, to be honest. I think that we might just be entering a zone where quality is like gone, and it's all just, what does it do? What does it do for me on a very functional level? And that's what it is. You know, even if I'm able to make someday a beautiful painting and I get 10 cameras and they're all super cinematic and I do have great production quality, at the end of the day, the only thing that will matter is the functional level of, is this fun to listen to while I wash my dishes? That's all that's going to matter to people. I think that's a scary place that we could be going to. And I also think it's interesting, actually, how the people who are cultivating this space talk about it. I've heard Mark Zuckerberg say in interviews that he views social media as the future because in the past, and some of you, if you're a little older, might remember having this exact experience, actually, you'd be in the room with your family, deciding what to watch on TV, and there'd be some semblance of cohesiveness there because you'd have the very mainstream programs like The Tonight Show that is very much for everybody. Jeopardy is a great example of this, like the game show. No matter what people's tastes are, you can throw on Jeopardy, and if you're, most people will have a good time or whatever, and that's, at least, I don't know if most people like Jeopardy, but I know that's what, like, my family would do, right? And then you would think that, like, just a kid and their parent would watch. For me, that was, like, Justice League as a kid. I loved the Justice League and the Batman animated series. Maybe just me and my dad would watch that as a kid, right? And then you have the things that just the mom would like. The soap operas, the classic, like, Sex and the City. These very stereotypical, like, this is targeted towards this audience. That's the way things used to work. If you wanted something else, I would go up to my room and read a comic book. Well, my brother watches Nat Geographic or something that just he liked, and my parents would be in their room watching their own TV, right? Nowadays, whereas it was almost harder because you had to be very much physically separated to consume your own tastes. Like, I had to go in my room and read a book. Well, my brother had custody over the TV for that night. Well, my parents went in their room. As much as you'd be physically separated to consume your own tastes, nowadays, and this is what Mark Zuckerberg says, you can all just scroll. You have your own tastes curated for you. You have just your content displayed for you. Everybody, the way he puts it, everybody is given specifically what they want to watch. Mark Zuckerberg has a lot of investors to please. So I'm going to, as much as I don't hate his explanation, it's really hard for me to look at it in good faith when, he's got a lot of money to make off of people watching specifically what they want to watch. Also, I don't know if this is specifically what people want to watch or more so what's going to captivate their attention. If you play for me my favorite movie next to a car crash happening, I'm probably going to turn and watch the car crash. Doesn't mean I want to watch car crashes all day, and social media definitely functions in a very similar way, even if this content is our new art form. It's not exactly that we're given the art we want to see, it's more so that we're given the art that's going to keep us watching. And oftentimes, that ends up being things like car crashes. I remember there was this like prank on Instagram going around where like guys would walk up to girls and be like, you have a boyfriend? And they'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, good, and walk away. Those were on my page for a month. I never enjoyed a single one of them. But they got so many views because people couldn't look away. They couldn't stop looking at something that was extremely like, whoa, that's awful, right? This is why prank videos always do so well, because it's like, what will this guy do? And then the ones where they freak out and try and like, they pull a gun and have a bazooka in their backpack and they try and kill the guy, do the best. Even though nobody enjoys watching that, if you could go watch a beautiful movie, you do that instead, right? So I think this is where we've fully disrupted our like way of perceiving quality in art. And I think that's probably the biggest effect of social media, is how it's displayed the difference in what quality looks like. I know, and forgive me because you guys know you can never cite me as a source anyways. I guess I could just say this. I know there was like this panel of scientists that came together a while ago and worked on like their like a way of, or I don't know if it's scientists or thinkers, I don't know what the term actually is, but they were like, let's come up with a way in which we can like make a social media that works the right way as far as controlling information and like disinformation, all these things. And what they came up with is with this idea of people having ability over curating their own feeds. And as much as I think that's a great idea, one, the companies never go for it because they make so much less money. But let's not be so cynical for a second. Let's think about us as consumers. Would we like that? Honestly, probably not as much, because we'd get more distracted. Maybe we'd enjoy it more, but I don't know if we'd use it more. And I think that's where like there's a very interesting question of like, is social media popular based off of our habitual usage of it or because we enjoy our time on it? Answer would probably be different for everyone, but I think it's an important question nonetheless. A question that is determined by content, which is maybe our art form right now. Maybe that is like, you know, the way we look back at the 20s and the 30s and be like, that was the explosion of the movie, you know, Charlie Chaplin and like celebrity, Hollywood. We imagine this with a very glitz and glamour prestige back in the 20s. Maybe they'll imagine today as like social media, Mr. Beast, Kai Cenat, I Show Speed. Huge downgrade. But despite that, these probably are our modern equivalents of that, right? Of these moments that we have in culture. And I wonder if, because, you know, back to what we were saying about it separating people in terms of their taste and everybody can look at what they like on their own screen, on their own time. Maybe with that has come the destruction of monoculture, right? We've discussed this in length. Specifically, I think the Paint&Talk was called something like subculture and monoculture are dead. What do we have left, right? We've discussed this in length. Maybe with the destruction of monoculture also destroys the idea of there even being a medium of art. You know, maybe it's all just about what do you watch? I don't even know if it's like, will art be here in the capacity it is now in 5 years? Will it? I'm motivated to say it's going to adapt to social media, but will it? I don't know. I feel like I feel like this was such a weird episode of Paint&Talk because I feel like there were I feel like this was an okay talk, but I just feel like we got nowhere on like the actual effects of this. I think it's too big of a question to breach though. Like, what are the effects of content to art form? I don't know. This is the painting, final one with these color palettes. I think in the last 3 here, it ended up being an okay color palette in the end. Very excited to move on. Oh my god, I made Steve from Minecraft. Fuck. Till next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. I'm here every morning. Wait. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 183. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all. Nailed the intro, guys. Nailed the intro. 183 episodes. Still can't get it right.